Diddy looked like an invincible man for the past few years, but things seem to have turned around as Homeland Security raided his properties. While he's considered an important figure in hip-hop, Diddy has been at the center of accusations and investigations recently, including a lawsuit filed against him for sexual assault. Even though there were several accusations, no action was taken until Monday, March 25th, when law enforcement raided 2 of his properties and destroyed everything in sight. They left behind ripped open drawers and documents, and even broke into Diddy's safes. What they call a raid is referred to as a witch hunt by his lawyer. Is this the end of Diddy? Why did law enforcement get a warrant to raid Diddy's property? What's going to happen next? And what about the allegations that Diddy or some of his family members were arrested? Let's get into all this and see what's really going on. Since forming his own record label, Bad Boy Records, in 1993, Diddy has been making a name for himself. Born Sean John Combs, he has become known as Diddy, P. Diddy, and Puff Daddy by his fans. Over the years, Diddy has released a large number of record-breaking hits. He got his very first award in 2002 for Video of the Year. Diddy has been building a legacy for his name and delved into many other areas and industries apart from hip-hop. Today, he is considered an entrepreneur and a billionaire, with more funds coming to him from the alcohol industry than his music career.
Kids all on the corner scream, that's my car. It was days couldn't be.
However, last year something unexpected happened. Cassie, his ex, filed a lawsuit alleging that Diddy sexually abused her over the time they dated. This wasn't something any of his fans expected, and soon after, several other cases related to sexual abuse came to light as people began speaking out about things that happened as far back as the 1990s. This isn't where things end. As these cases began piling up, something stood out. These cases, along with things that people have said, started to make it seem like Diddy was linked to sex trafficking. That's also where the raid came in, even though officials haven't specifically mentioned the connection. CNN did report that the raid is actually linked to an ongoing investigation into sex trafficking. In 2007, shortly after separating from Kimberly Porter, with whom Diddy had 3 children, he started dating Cassie Ventura. This relationship was on and off over the years until the couple decided to call it quits in 2018.
I can't say. That would be giving away too much. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta see it tomorrow.
And it's a great cast, by the way.
Diddy currently has 7 children, with the latest being born to Dana Tran in October of 2022. He's had kids with different women over the years, and his unstable relationships now seem to be catching up with him. On the 16th of November 2023, Cassie officially filed a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs. The lawsuit explained that Diddy had raped Cassie on 1 occasion. It also outlined years of violent behavior from Diddy, stating that she had to endure repeated beatings. In the lawsuit, Cassie also explains that Diddy forced her to perform sexual activities with male sex workers. In the lawsuit, Cassie also mentioned that when she wanted to separate from him, Diddy raped her, and he continued even though she tried to push him away and continuously said no to him. Just 1 day later, the two settled the lawsuit. There weren't any specific details that were shared with the public about the settlement, including no information about the amount that they decided on. Sean's lawyer did communicate that the settlement did not by any means mean he was admitting guilt to the allegations.
It's all wrapped up pretty amazingly quick.
It was almost like the case filed by Cassie opened up the floodgates for more sexual assault lawsuits and accusations against Diddy. It seemed like her standing up to him and filing that lawsuit gave others hope, and then they started to tell their stories. On the 23rd of November, just a couple days after the lawsuit with Cassie was settled, new accusations started to surface. The surprising factor about these accusations was the fact that the incidents reported by the victims date back to as early as 1991. There were 2 people who filed sexual assault lawsuits against Diddy on this day. One remained anonymous. The only details we know of the case is that the person who filed it alleged that Sean beat her and she was sexually assaulted by the hip-hop star. However, the other victim made herself public, known as Joy Dickerson Neal. She alleged that Sean drugged and then sexually assaulted her back in 1991. At the time, Joy was a college student. In addition to these allegations, her lawsuit also mentioned that Diddy recorded the event and distributed it to different people who are also in the music industry. On the 6th of December, a 4th sexual assault lawsuit was filed against Diddy. The victim who filed the lawsuit asked for her name to be kept confidential, which is why they simply referred to her as Jane Doe in the case. This was quite a serious accusation. The victim claimed that she was gang raped in 2003. Sean Diddy Combs was one of the persons she mentioned, along with Harvey Pierre, who was the former president of the Bad Boy Records label that was started by Diddy in the 1990s. She said there was a third person involved as well. This was the first time that Diddy really took notice of how the public perceived the news of these lawsuits. He decided to come out and deny all of these allegations. He was quick to tell the public that these people were filing lawsuits against him because they were all looking for a quick payday. He called these allegations sickening. Diddy also said that he would be fighting for his name, his family, and for what is the truth. The next lawsuit came on February 26, 2024. This time, a male victim decided to file a lawsuit against Diddy. Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. was taken in as a producer for Diddy's latest album, the Love album, Off the Grid. According to the lawsuit, Diddy would grope and touch Rodney on his butt. The lawsuit also claims that Diddy wanted Rodney to have sexual activities not only with Diddy himself, but also with other members who were part of his crew. The allegations continue as Rodney mentions waking up one morning naked. He believes that Diddy drugged him the night before, as he could not recall how he got there. Apart from him, Diddy was also in the bed, along with 2 sex workers. Rodney also alleged that some of the sex workers that Diddy wanted him to perform acts with were underage. Okay, so we've covered the allegations that people have made against Diddy. Things are already not looking good for this legend of hip-hop, but there's more. During these events, many things happened, such as Diddy's drawing out of certain businesses and companies cutting ties with him. Our goal is to explore the whole story. So to really get to his homes being raided, we have to look at the entire picture. 5 days after the lawsuit claiming Diddy sexually assaulted a college student was filed, he decided to step down as chairman at Revolt. Now, Revolt is a company that Diddy was a big part of. In fact, he was part of the team that made the company a reality back in 2013. When this happened, 50 Cent was quick to step in and started, as some would call it, trolling Diddy on social media. In fact, in one social media post, he told Diddy that he would buy Revolt from him. He told me to sell it to him and then we could be friends. Even though Diddy wasn't active at Revolt at the time, with no daily operations requiring his input, management still felt stepping down would be the best idea at that point. This was a decision to ensure the sexual assault allegations against Diddy would not hurt the brand or its mission. 50 Cent went so far as to even post screenshots of headlines that reported on Diddy's decision to resign as chairman at Revolt. By the 10th of December 2023, some brands had decided it was best to cut ties with the e-commerce company Diddy founded. Empower Global is an e-commerce store that focuses on Black people, selling everything from clothes to skincare products. In fact, on this very day, 18 different brands decided to cut all ties they had with Empower Global. Some of the brands provided their opinion on the matter and explained the reason they decided to cut ties with Diddy's e-commerce brand. Annette Najal, the founder of House of Takura, said, "The decision was made on the day that Cassandra Ventura filed her lawsuit. We take the allegations against Mr. Combs very seriously and find such behavior abhorrent and intolerable. We believe in victims' rights and support victims in speaking their truth, even against the most powerful of people." Other brands that also pulled out included Nuudi System, No One Clothiers, Suri, Fulaba, and more.
Founder of luxury bag, eyewear, and apparel company House of Takura reveals that the decision to sever ties was made on the day Ventura filed her lawsuit, reflecting the seriousness of the allegations against Combs.
This happened after Diddy decided to spend over $20 million on the Empower Global venture in total, and he was really excited when it just got started. However, with all of these allegations against him, brands didn't want to continue being associated with his name. With 18 brands no longer working with Empower Global, the company took a massive hit, as that led the e-commerce brands with much fewer products to offer customers. 3 days later, Hulu announced that they would no longer be working with Diddy on the Combs family reality show. The show would have been called Diddy Plus 7 and hadn't reached production at that time. Fullwell 73, the production company owned by James Corden, was the producer who would be behind the show. However, the allegations made management at Hulu decide to scrap all the plans they had for the show.
Plus 7 was being produced by James Corden's production company, Fullwell 73, and it was supposed to give a glimpse into Diddy's personal and professional life, as well as his relationship with his 6 children.
And this brings us to the modern day. On the 25th of March 2024, something unexpected happened at 2 of Diddy's properties, one in Miami and another one in Los Angeles. For years, it seemed like Diddy could get away from everything. He's become a legend in the hip-hop industry. He was untouchable and invincible, or so we thought. When federal agents raided Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami homes, it was huge news. This news quickly made it to the internet, with millions of people starting to ask questions. Now let's get one thing straight. The Department of Homeland Security investigations isn't just going to give federal agents warrants to raid someone's house. This is a type of warrant that requires evidence and a lot of work. That means federal agents had likely been following Diddy around for the past couple of months, as they had to have their reasons for actually getting a warrant to raid these two homes. Let's talk about search warrants for a moment. That's going to clear up some things, as many people already have questions about why all of this happened. There are two important criteria that judges will usually look at before they issue a search warrant against a defendant. First, the evidence needs to show that the federal agent is highly confident that there was a crime committed at the property. The judge will also consider whether there could be specific items found at the location that will connect to the crime that the federal judges are investigating. Those investigating the case need to provide enough evidence for the judge to make a decision to actually grant the search warrant. Looking at this information, you can clearly see that they've been investigating Diddy for a long time. There have also been several other cases where people connected Diddy to sex trafficking, but we'll get into that in a moment. When federal agents arrived at the two properties owned by Diddy, they immediately entered and raided all the rooms. They did make a mess of things. That's something we can easily see by taking a closer look at the video footage TMZ received following the raid. It's clear to see that the federal agents who raided Diddy's house were digging deep to find what they were looking for. They even threw out his clothes and shoes onto the floor, making a mess of what seemed like a walk-in closet. Apart from this, the feds also broke into safes that Diddy had throughout his homes, raiding whatever they were able to find inside. More footage also emerged, showing damaged computer equipment in Diddy's house. The feds removed hard drives from this equipment, probably to check for evidence that could help them in this case. It was later reported that Diddy did cooperate with the federal agents during these raids. However, he did express concern over how the feds treated his employees as well as his children. While officials didn't immediately respond with comments on the reason for the raids, CNN reported later on that it was done as part of an investigation into a sex trafficking case. This is a serious allegation, but Diddy's lawyer has responded in the meantime. Even though they raided Diddy's two homes, one important thing to note here is that they didn't actually file any criminal charges against him. This likely means that the feds weren't able to find something concise that could tie Diddy to the cases they were investigating during the raid. However, it's important to note that they confiscated certain electronic devices from Diddy's properties. This included hard drives from computer equipment, which means technical teams at the feds are likely still looking over the files they're able to obtain from these devices. This could potentially hold more details and possibly even the evidence they're looking for to tie Diddy to these investigations. In response to the actions taken by these federal agents, Sean's lawyer reported, "Yesterday, there was a gross overuse of military-level force as search warrants were executed at Mr. Combs' residences. There is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated." His lawyer went on to call all of this a witch hunt. He said that they've based their investigation on accusations that people made in civil lawsuits. Finally, his lawyer mentioned that he would be fighting to clear Diddy's name and once again emphasized the fact that Diddy was innocent of all the allegations. Something that you should understand here is that there is no way of telling right now if there's a connection between the allegations that were made against Diddy and the raiding of his house. We can only assume that there should be a connection. However, as CNN reported, the raid was part of an ongoing sex trafficking case, so there could be much more going on than we think. The truth is, Diddy has a past that's filled with some pretty wild stuff, as Usher put it in an interview. This interview was done a couple of years ago, but it's a good starting point when you want to look at how federal agents link Diddy to potentially being involved in sex trafficking. So let's go all the way back to 2016 and take a look at an interview that was done on the Howard Stern show with Usher. At the time, Usher was 45, and he talked about the fact that he stayed in Diddy's mansion when he was just 13 years old. When Usher had just got into the hip-hop world, the idea was to have him live with Diddy to see the lifestyle of a rapper. Usher stayed at Diddy's mansion during the spring of 1994. Usher had this to say, "I got a chance to see some things. I don't know if I could indulge and even understand what I was looking at."
There to see the lifestyle,
right?
And I saw it, and it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at.
Back in 2004, he was interviewed by a journalist from Rolling Stone, where he told them that Diddy introduced him to crazy things. He said that what Diddy showed him was a totally different set of shit. He was talking about sex specifically and went on to explain that he would walk into a room at Diddy's mansion and see people doing it. Not only one-on-one action, but he was even exposed to rooms where people had orgies. Now, you have to remember that Usher was 13 at the time. At that age, children shouldn't be exposed to this kind of thing. Yet, Diddy decided that it was something that he needed to see because that's the lifestyle of hip-hop. While all of this was already suspicious, we also have to go back to what Cassie Ventura said in her statement when she filed a lawsuit against Diddy. You see, she did accuse Diddy of rape and abuse. However, there's another thing that she mentioned: sex trafficking. Remember we talked about the latest lawsuit to be filed against Diddy? The one that Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. filed? Well, this is where the plot thickens once again. You see, on the same day that they raided Diddy's houses, Rodney actually made amendments to the original case that he filed. This time, he added much more details, and this could have just been the info the feds were looking for to get a search warrant issued to them. The amendments that Rodney made included a couple of things. For example, he specified that Diddy has designated bottles of alcohol that have already been laced with date rape drugs. He also mentions in this document that Diddy was frequently partying with girls and sex workers who were not of legal age. Rodney accused Diddy of having many hidden cameras throughout his homes in Miami, New York, and Los Angeles. According to these statements, Diddy has been using these cameras to record the sexual activities that happened throughout his home. Rodney also mentioned that these recordings were taken without the knowledge of guests and sex workers who entered his homes. The list goes on, but what I'd like us to focus on here is the fact that Rodney also mentioned sex trafficking specifically in the amendments he made to the case filed back in February. According to Rodney, Diddy has been operating a sex trafficking venture for some time. Rodney also alleges that several associates in the music industry, as well as his employees, are supporting and helping him run this venture.
The new allegations against Sean Diddy Combs, a music producer, is accusing hip-hop mogul of assaulting him and forcing him to have sex with prostitutes.
At the same time, Rodney brings in another Combs, Justin Combs. This is one of Diddy's sons, who is currently 30 years old. According to these allegations, Diddy gets Justin to help recruit more minors into the sex work industry. He became the one to source sex workers for his father. Rodney also mentioned that Justin did this together with Christina Coram, who is Diddy's chief of staff. All of these accusations have now even caused the names of other people to appear, including the likes of Prince Harry. Yes, you heard that right. It's quite a turn of events when we notice Prince Harry's name was mentioned in this multi-million-dollar lawsuit that Diddy is now up against. The official document that covers all of the lawsuits into a single case against Diddy is 72 pages long. Throughout this entire document, the most surprising name that comes up is Prince Harry. However, before you begin to make your own speculations, let's be clear about something. The document isn't accusing Prince Harry of anything. It's just a name used to describe the type of celebrities that Sean is known to be associated with. The focus of this part is to describe the fact that Diddy is known to have associates of different industries, careers, and even in royalty. The report further details the fact that Diddy has arranged exclusive parties with VIP associates on multiple occasions, and then details the fact that this includes associates like artists, athletes, and even political figures. The only response that Diddy has had after Rodney decided to file the lawsuit and then make an amendment including him, calling these accusations pure fiction. Of course, all of this is still fresh news, so there's a lot that can happen going forward. Right now, we don't know what the next steps will be for the federal agents who raided Diddy's property. We do know that they've said it was part of an investigation that they are doing, and that any information they obtain will be made available at a later date. How long this would take is also something we cannot say. One thing is for sure though, these accusations are serious, and the Homeland Security Investigations Department in New York won't take something like a search warrant lightly. They must have had their reasons for ordering the warrant and raiding 2 of the properties that are owned by this rapper. Since they had official search warrants, it also means they went through all of the legal processes to get a judge to grant one. They wouldn't have had a need for a warrant if they didn't have enough proof or evidence to know something was up. And while there are no cases against Diddy filed by Homeland Security, this doesn't mean all of this is over. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. One thing that's on everyone's minds at the moment, however, is Diddy's whereabouts. Shortly after his properties were raided, conspiracies started to circulate, with some believing that Diddy left the country.
News capturing Combs' Love Airjet in Antigua. No information about who, if anyone, was on the plane.
These conspiracies started when a private jet owned by Diddy left the United States and was seen landing in Antigua. Federal prosecutors commented on this, stating that they were unaware that Diddy was, in fact, on the plane when it left the United States. There are also some people who believe it could be that Diddy is currently held in custody. This is, of course, just a conspiracy, and nothing has been confirmed as of yet. While it's still a possibility, it's important to note that Diddy's lawyer publicly announced that he had given his full cooperation during the raids, but he was never detained throughout the entire process. His lawyer also confirmed that no official criminal case has been filed against Diddy following the raid. One other matter has come to light in the meantime, as a man who might have ties to Diddy was arrested at the Miami airport. In fact, this happened on Monday, the same day that Diddy's houses were raided by the federal agents. The guy who they arrested was Brendan Paul. According to several reports, Brendan was allegedly a drug mule for Diddy. When they arrested him, Brendan had both marijuana and cocaine on him. He was charged with drug possession on the spot. Brendan is 25 years old and a former basketball player at Syracuse University. One thing to note is that the arrest doesn't seem to be connected to the raids, however. There's still one suspicious thing that comes up. Brendan Paul was named in the civil sexual assault cases that have been stacking up against Sean Diddy Combs. Rodney Little Rod Jones was the one to out Brendan Paul as being Diddy's drug mule. According to Rodney, Brendan was responsible for acquiring and distributing both drugs and guns for Diddy.
And they didn't take Diddy in at that point. They took the guy in. So yeah, maybe the whole thing, Diddy being on the run or even having to turn himself in, is just a farce all the way around.
Brendan's lawyer noted that they would keep this case outside of the media and rather settle things in court. However, following the arrest, several news publications have already picked up on the story and reported on it. When federal agents showed up at two properties owned by Diddy, the famous rapper and hip-hop artist, things quickly escalated. The feds detained two of Diddy's children, and it felt like a violent raid, according to Diddy's lawyer. This happened after several allegations had been made against Diddy, including lawsuits filed by victims that date back to the 1990s. The raid was done as part of an ongoing investigation into a case that revolves around sex trafficking. While Diddy's lawyer did communicate his innocent plea to the public, new allegations have started to come to the surface. This all puts Diddy in a really tight spot, especially with amendments that Rodney Little Rod Jones made to the original lawsuit he filed against Sean in February. The officials haven't provided any new updates on the case, as the investigation is still ongoing. However, we can look at the evidence that is available at the moment and also consider both allegations and the lawsuits that have already been filed against Diddy. He hasn't been charged with any criminal offense at the moment, but this could change any moment as the investigation now allows federal agents to look through files on confiscated hard drives and other electronics. For years, we thought Diddy was someone who could get away with anything. He's been accused of assault many times before, but with the latest evidence piling up against him and lawsuits being filed one after the other, the law can no longer look the other way. Only this time, it's not just about his sexual assaults, as federal agents believe Diddy might be part of a sex trafficking operation. What's your take on everything? Do you believe he's guilty? Let me know in the comments. And remember, like the video if you enjoyed the content and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads.